Welcome, everybody, to this free monthly group coaching call that I've been doing for years. And they pretty much always happen Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. Pacific time for an hour. So if you're wondering if it's going to happen or not, I pretty much always post it that morning or the day before on my Facebook page saying that it is happening. I was a little late today getting that out, but it's nice to see all of you anyway. And as I said earlier, some familiar faces because I like to stay in touch with my people. So this conversation is about tough conversations at any stage of life. I put at any stage of life on there because I've been doing a lot of programs on tough conversations at the final stage of life. And you can catch one of those is going to be posted pretty soon on my Substack. I just haven't worked out the technicalities of it. Um, but today it's any kind of tough conversation. And so as I'm preparing for this, mostly just thinking about it, I realized most of my life, most of my professional life is in some way dealing with tough conversations, either as a marriage counselor, facilitating people talking about their differences, or most of my clients are dealing, my individual clients are dealing with some sort of relationship issues. So conversations are the growth laboratory for becoming more authentic, for self-awareness, for self-development, and so forth. So, and my point of view is everything that happens to you is something that you can mine for your own inner awareness, inner healing, and self-development. So we'll see today. Uh, I'm going to say a few things first, take you through a little exercise, and then I'll take questions. That's the most lively part of these really is me responding in the moment to people's questions. So I hope some of you've brought some tough issues so that we can all learn from you. So first, I want to just say that when we're having tough conversations, one of the biggest things that happens, even beginning to go into something that we dread talking about, uh, we may not have a regulated nervous system. I hope you all know how to check in. Is my nervous system regulated? What's the state of my being and my ability to stay present? And most of us aren't able to be fully present because there's so many past conversations, past unmet needs. So let's give ourselves a little compassion there. Fully present is a very high bar, but at least you have like breathed and sensed your body, and so you're at least that in touch with yourself before you even try to have any of these conversations. And another big thing that I'll be mentioning and stressing here is if we're going to have a decent conversation, everybody has to feel emotionally safe. So if you have a regulated nervous system and you're like open and relaxed, that's what it really means. A dysregulated nervous system means you're kind of watching, is this a safe place for me? In some way, you might not be asking that question, but I think most of you know from hearing me before that this is a key thing is to create safe space if you're going to speak honestly, if you're going to speak about something that you're a little bit afraid to speak. So they need to feel safe to speak to you. And we'll be going into that. I mean, you'll see me coaching people here on this call today. So first, I want to take us through a little bit of exercise just to warm us up here. I think we've all probably, if we're in any kind of relationship, probably have some kind of conversation that you know you ought to be having, but you've procrastinated it or you've avoided it, that sort of thing. I mean, so pause with me right now and just see if there's anything in your world. I'm not saying you have to talk about this today. I just want you to like honestly reflect here. Is there anything that you know that you've been avoiding that somewhere inside you know this would be important to talk to this person about, to clear the air, to find out what's really going on, or to resolve some difference, or at least take another step dealing with some kind of difference that we have that has me being uncomfortable. And maybe some of these conversations, you've tried to bring something up before, but it hasn't gone well. Or maybe you're afraid of hurting the other's feelings, or maybe making the situation worse. So I'm just going to give you a minute now to just reflect. Is there any conversation that I'm avoiding? And then this is just a silent exercise now. We'll be doing show of hands kinds of things later on. What reason do you give yourself for not having this conversation? Like what's your excuse? But it may not be like an excuse. There may be like a heartfelt reason, like I'm still too angry about this situation, and I'm pretty sure I couldn't do a good job speaking about it. Or I'm really pretty sure that it will be hard for the other person to hear, and I'm just not ready to deal with that yet. So see what's there in terms of why, or at least the story you tell yourself. The real whys are too complex to even put into words, but we have reasons that we give ourselves, and let's make those more explicit. And now I would like some people to be willing to say the reason why, because I think this would help others like prime their own awareness. And you have to unmute yourself because I've muted everyone. So uh, hope you can figure out how to unmute yourself. It's either under audio at the lower left for you or on your screen where you see a little microphone, a little red microphone. So who's willing to share why? Why have you not gotten around to speaking about this with your partner, friend, boss, acquaintance? Anybody got a why that they're willing to speak? Yeah, Scott, please.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a ongoing fear of talk. I want to talk to my brother, and the why I'm avoiding it is because his, it's about, well, over there, it's about his anger and
Mm.
about how he gets angry at me, at my mom, at his kids, at his wife,
Mhm.
and how he expresses that. And so my why of avoiding it is, uh, the first I was actually surprised I wrote this down when you're doing this exercise is my own fear, like my own
Mhm.
how uncomfortable I feel with his anger directed towards me. And
Yeah.
I don't want more of that. And I'm aware I want to have a good relationship with him. And I imagine in his mind, me bringing this up is making the relationship worse.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Scott, would you be willing to work with me on this a little later? I want to get a few more whys and
Sure.
warm the rest of the group up a little bit, but then we could come back to this. I'd like to work with you on this.
I'd like that too.
Great. Anybody else have oh, just the why? Okay, Denise, and you have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Yes. I mean, it's similar to what he said, but I'm just not ready to deal with the consequence. My daughter, who I adore, is older adult daughter living with me, and she happens to have cats that I just found out I'm allergic to. And I don't really want to have the hard conversation with her because I don't want to deal with the consequence, which might mean that she has to move out. And I'm not ready for that because I'm really enjoying her living there. So
Hmm.
that's sort of like the consequence of actually talking about the hard
Yeah,
things.
and that it might lead to some action you're not ready to
Exactly.
experience.
Mhm.
Yeah. And would you be willing later, if we get to it, to dialogue with me about that one?
Sure.
Okay. Anyone else have a why? Okay, I'm willing to take this exercise one more step now before we're not going to, we're still in this exercise of think of a situation where you haven't cleared the air, or you haven't finished the conversation or had the conversation. So we've looked at why. Now I want you to imagine in this issue that you've thought of, if I felt completely safe that this consequence that I'm imagining or fearing, or my own feelings, if I was completely safe and I just pretend I knew things would turn out for the best or even well, just I knew things that would turn out okay. What would I just say if I was completely honest, maybe not filtering too much, because maybe we just have to get that piece out first before we modify it to suit the other person's needs or feelings. So what would you like to say? So this is just you're going to do this in your imagination. I'm not going to ask you to speak it out loud unless you're willing to here. But what would you like to say if you knew nothing bad was going to happen? So just imagine what that would be. And this is sometimes a little difficult, but sometimes it helps to like try jotting something down to get going on this question. And now that you've thought about what you'd like to say, see if you can imagine yourself saying this to the person. I'm not going to ask you to do it unless you decide that would be a good idea, but imagine yourself actually saying this to the person. So that person is here with you now. Sometimes it helps to close your eyes to do this part. Maybe it's something you've already said, but perhaps there's a new angle on it now when you're here in this situation with us. And notice how that feels. So that's the last part of the exercise. Notice how it feels to say that, even in your own mind. And if the feelings are difficult to hold, intentionally breathe, giving yourself some space to welcome these feelings, even if they're unpleasant. But some of you might think, wow, this isn't so bad. I kind of like how I feel when I say that. I'm getting it off my chest. Others of you are going, yeah, I can say that, but to myself, but I would never be able to do this in real life. So now I'm gonna, that's the warm-up exercise. And I'd like to see a little bit of sharing if somebody's willing to say just what came up for you during that. Was did you say something to yourself that kind of felt good or felt like you wouldn't ever be able to say it? Or did you have a hard time getting into the exercise? Whatever's your situation right now, I'd just like to dialogue with some of you. Yeah, go ahead, Scott. Yeah.
Come on. Um, yeah. Um, I imagine, I mean, I wrote it down. So I'll just say, I said, I love you and I want to have a closer relationship with you. And I'm triggered and afraid of your anger. I
Mhm.
avoid you because it feels scary to me to poke the bear. And because I get the idea that you don't like talking about problems or talking through them.
Hmm. And how did it feel now as you're saying that?
Um, Feels okay. It feels like a relief. I can imagine him responding well to that. It's funny because I also realize that I imagine him responding well to things I say.
Mhm.
What I'm most afraid of is initiating the conversation.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Let's get into it, Scott. If you're willing. So initiating the conversation. I bet you other people have that one. It's like once I get into it, somehow I know how to handle things, even if it's not going perfectly. What is it about initiating? Just imagine that moment before, I mean, which is right now, actually. So it's right now. You're before the action. Just feel into that. What do you notice? You notice body sensations, perhaps memories of other conversations you've had, anything like that. Yeah. What?
I notice that I have a story. I notice that I have a story that I'm interrupting his perceived peace.
Ah, uh,
Like the story I have is that he would be completely fine with everything the way it is. Like
mhm.
he's good at pushing down his feelings.
Yeah.
And so I imagine I'm interrupting his peace. I'm causing a problem.
Yeah, yeah. So just feel that that's a bit of a fear, like a fear story. I call them fear stories. You know, there's a feeling, but there's also a related uh thought about what all this means or what all is going to happen. So this fear story of interrupting somebody's peace, like if I take up space, it's taken away from somebody else or something like that. When I say that to you, Scott, does this ring any bells? Is this any kind of a pattern for you in any way in your other rest of your life?
Yeah, for sure. There's a
Uh-huh.
core childhood fear of being raised in a family and a certain religion where my job, I don't know if I felt it consciously, but
Mhm.
I was supposed to fall in line, not cause problems.
Yeah. So
Like do things the way we do them.
and and see if we can like breathe and open up some space to welcome that tender part of you. No, that tender part is still around. That's why I said earlier it's hard for any of us to be 100% present because our past does have pulls on us. And just feel what it was like living in that home where you got the idea that you shouldn't disturb the peace, that you should fall in line, and the how that felt as a little guy and as a teenager even. I just feel tenderness for that. And those of us who are here witnessing, I imagine we can find something in ourselves that's a bit of a pattern that comes from something that's happened earlier in our life and just conditions the way we relate to the world. It's important to become more aware of these things. So, Scott, can you
I'm,
just kind of be tender toward that
I'm
part
noticing,
of you? Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, I'm even noticing as I'm feeling into this that I'm noticing like, I want to call it like a mirroring where my fear of bringing, as a kid, my fear of bringing things up,
Mhm.
I'm imagining is kind of where I imagine my brother's at. Like, just don't bring things up.
Ah,
I mean, it's
interesting.
both where I'm at, but I'm also feeling like some empathy for
Yeah,
like where he's probably still at, like in that place of yeah, don't cause waves,
right.
which is why he's going to get pissed at me for
Yeah,
bringing it
yeah.
up.
You're breaking the family rules, Scott, and I'm
Yeah.
enforcing the family rules. That's quite possible. It's lovely that came up for you. So just be with that for a minute, because we're going to be anticipating now having a conversation with your actual brother at this age. But I think softening into what my own anxieties are, and this is for everybody now, my own anxieties are in bringing this up, that brings more of me into the picture in order to have this conversation. So now, Scott, I imagine you're still feeling some things, and I'm ready to go forward and look at talking about this to your brother, talking about the thing that you talked about, his anger and how you react to his anger and that sort of thing. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm imagining, and let's craft this together. I always like when approach a difficult conversation, I always like to advise people to set some kind of a context about like where I'm coming from, what I'm intending here in inviting you into this conversation. I don't advise starting a difficult conversation just just like, by the way, I've been thinking blah blah blah. It's fine if you want to do that, but I think it'll be more effective if you enroll the other person in, I want to have this type of conversation with you about our relationship and the way, and I'm thinking, Scott, the way we've each dealt with our childhood and conditioning growing up in that family. Because you had such a deeper insight after we talked a little bit. And so that would be one. I'm not going to write the script for you, but let's let's kind of make a script together of how to invite him in. And the other piece of inviting somebody into a conversation, I call it another name for setting the context and under certain conditions, I call a pro-relationship preamble. Like I'm hoping that after we have this conversation, we'll have an even deeper relationship. Or after I clear the air, this is for other situations, after I clear the air and if I can just say this and have you hear me, I think we can get back to having a really good working relationship or a really good friendship. So that would be an example in another instance. But what do you think, Scott? What might be a good preamble or invitation to your brother?
Yeah, I like the idea of saying, I want something or like, I want I want to have I want to have a hard conversation with you,
Uh-huh.
a difficult conversation with you,
Hmm.
and I want you to know that my intention is for it to bring us closer together.
That's wonderful. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope a lot of people listening can learn from that one. Yeah. That's almost generic. That's almost the generic formula for this. So, you know, feeling that now, and feeling yourself saying that. And then whatever else, what you wrote down could be the next piece, or what's your thought?
My thought is I'm already starting to cry just thinking about it. So I
Uh,
imagine I'd probably do the same thing when I'm talking to him.
and that that touches me so much. I wonder if you imagine that he would react well to that. Do you imagine that he would sense your care
Yeah.
in that? Yeah. So this is
Yeah.
this is really all you need. I don't think we need to script it, frankly. I
Yeah.
wasn't planning. I mean, I don't really believe in scripting it and then delivering a script, but sometimes if you get in touch with the various parts of what you want to get across, you're it's just in your awareness field a little more. But honestly, this preamble and your emotions, you already have some confidence that this will create a more connection with him. Yeah, good.
I'm no less afraid of having a conversation with him. But yeah.
So, no, we've done this as an exercise. Do you think you really will have this conversation with him?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it'll happen
Hmm.
at some point.
And
I
mm,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, I'm not going to do a buy one or anything like that because you're not we're not doing business coaching here.
Oh yeah.
That is, but that is a thought in my mind is, when might you have an opportunity to create the context for this to happen? It's just in my mind. You don't have to commit.
Yeah. No, I'm aware. I'm aware there's a part of me that I don't know. When you said that, I thought before Thanksgiving, my whole family's getting together for Thanksgiving,
Oh, uh-huh.
um, and I've already skipped one family gathering in the past because I didn't want to spend a week with him.
Hmm.
So, and I'm also the thing I'm aware of when you ask that question is um, the part of me that the part of me that wants to ignore him until he says, "Hey, what's wrong?" realizes he will never say, "Hey, what's wrong?"
Uh,
So I have to initiate it.
yeah. But where my mind goes, Scott, when you say that is perhaps all your life you wanted, especially growing up, you wanted somebody to attend to you rather than have you fit in,
Yeah,
like what's really up with
yeah,
you, Scott, you know? And
yeah,
I have tears around that thought of mine, but you're saying, yeah, sure,
yeah.
sure.
I want that for sure. I
Yeah,
want someone to say, "Hey, what's wrong?"
yeah. And
all the time.
good to own. Good to own. Yeah, yeah. And to reveal.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you so much, Scott.
thank you.
Mm. Does anybody else have anything similar to Scott, or just your own issue that we could go into, sort of like the way I dialogued with Scott? Anybody willing to go there with me? Denise might be on deck, or let me see if there's anybody else too that just come on camera and raise your hand. So I'll give you a chance. So Denise, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, how about if we talk about you and your daughter and your whole situation of not wanting to kind of get the ball rolling with anything that you might not be ready for.
Sure.
So just start with where you're most kind of stuck right now, and just relay to me and to us your current situation.
Yeah. So, um, I'm most stuck with the thought of like being strong that I want to, prioritize my health since I really have a strong belief that living with dander with this new allergy cannot be good for me for several more months.
This is
Even though,
a cat allergy. I just want to
yes,
remind
sorry,
everybody.
that cat
Yeah,
allergy.
yeah, yeah.
That is brand new to me. I had no idea I had this until after they moved in. Um, so I'm just not ready to deal with the consequence, which is if I come at it with, being secure and sure that I do want her to move out, it's so much more than just, oh, great, I'm taking care, that's self care for me, because the flip side is it means I'll be never living with her ever again. And I'm not really, if these cats live, typically another whatever 20 years, she'll be in her 40s, and by then I'm sure we wouldn't be living together anyway. But it's just so special to be living with her in this little moment of time before she just completely, takes off professionally and flies away and does her thing. So I'm just holding on to this. So
Okay, so I've got some thoughts, but I want to summarize for the audience. This is it's an adult daughter who's come back to live with her and who has what, one or two cats?
two, yeah, two.
Two cats, and Denise is allergic to cats, and it's actually affecting her physical feelings now. So my thought, Denise, before thinking so far toward action, like she is going to have to move out, or I'm going to have to, this is sort of an action, I'm going to have to tolerate it, I'm going to have to avoid the cats, or what about having a conversation with your daughter about your feelings about this difficult situation you're both in? Just feelings, just kind of some of the things that you said. I'm worried about this. I'm not ready to deal with you exiting. But no, there's also this fear that as long as you have cats, I won't be able to be close to you, come to your home or whatever. Um, and your daughter knows, right, that you're allergic to her cats.
Yes, yeah.
You guys have had some talks about it, but
Yeah.
I'm imagining maybe you haven't fully gotten into her thoughts of, oh, gee, I don't want to get rid of my cats, but I really love living with my mom. Whatever her various impulses toward making any kind of change or where else could I live? And then that would be sad. So just having a different kind of conversation than what are we going to do about the fact that your cats cause me physical distress. Got it?
Yeah.
Can you imagine that conversation?
Yes, it is hard though. It is hard to imagine it.
S- What what's hard? Let me just
Yeah.
what's in your
I just think as a mother, I'm so used to sort of protecting my kids from discomfort, which I know is not a good thing always. But yeah, and I guess I don't really want her worrying about me. I really, as a mother, yeah.
that one rings some kind of a bell. I'm sorry I interrupted you,
Yeah,
but
no.
whoa, yeah. Yeah, I'm the mother. Yeah, there may be more, but I know I interrupted you. So let's just
Mhm.
pause on that one because does seem like a big part of your identity. Plus, you love this, no, love this woman. I wanted to call her a girl. She's grown. How old is she?
She's 24.
Okay. So that's part of the discussion. Are you willing to say that to her? You know, that um, I'm the mother and I have this image of myself that I'm supposed to protect you and not lean on you with my needs too much. And, um, that's making it hard for me to let you know how much physical distress I'm actually in. I'm imagining that's part of your truth. Is that right?
Yeah, most definitely.
You are in physical distress.
I mean, the thing is, it's masked with like Claritin or whatever, so it's not. I kind of forget about it, like very
Right,
conveniently.
right.
But when I, think about it, I'm like, it's still in my body. I'm just masking it with medication right now.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I can imagine saying that to her. Yeah, quite easily, you know. Yeah, because it feels like there's that turning of the tide of like being the mom and being so strong all the time and being the one with advice and
Mhm.
not being particularly needy on my children. And then, yeah, it's like I'm in a needy position here, in a compromised position. Physically, I don't like that whatsoever. I'm still sort of in denial, honestly, of that. I'm not even ready to face that is the truth, but it is the truth.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And like I did with Scott, let's look at this not wanting to inconvenience others with my needs. Let's look at that as a possible part of a pattern of your personality. Just is there any story of your life type of thing where you don't like to inconvenience others, you like to be the strong one, any of that? Well,
yeah, most definitely. Yeah,
mhm.
definitely.
Is that kind of a badge of honor for you or a source of self-esteem for you to I'm the strong one.
I mean, I don't know if I really identify with that so much and feel so good about myself. I guess I just don't really like other people's responses. When I am in need, it just feels so uncomfortable, and I guess I can see other people not that comfortable. Maybe I set the tone as such a strong person that when I am in a weak place, everyone acts really weird, and I don't really want to see that or be
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
receiving of that. I don't know.
Yeah, that I've heard that from many other people, Denise. I want to kind of keep my problems to myself because of now the way people are acting toward me. So, I have a lot of empathy for that. Let's be with that for a moment. Let's see if we can have some empathy for yourself. And there's some ways that you don't want her to change her way of seeing you,
Mhm.
but yet I think you also said turning of the tide or something like that, where you're no longer the mom in the same way, the protector in the same way.
Mhm.
So those are all pieces that could be brought into this conversation with your daughter.
Mhm.
No conclusion, just encouraging her so she knows how to have these difficult conversations in her life because you're a good role model for this. Because I think you want that.
Yeah.
You want your kids to be as skillful and have their shit together as well as you.
And that is honestly that's a very convincing point, because I wouldn't want her to have this much trouble talking to her own kid about when she is in need, she should be afraid
Hmm.
to need, to be in a weaker place, whether it's emotionally or physically, because that is kind of sad that if you can't lean on the people that are the closest to you,
Mm.
it does feel like a deficit or something needs to really be worked on, because there could be any day where I, really, really need,
Yeah. And
you know.
where she's the parent someday and she remembers how you came to her, being strong and competent woman, but with a genuine need to talk about yourself. No. So lovely. I, I think we're good with this one.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, good luck.
Thanks.
Any comments, any questions, any other issues that people want to raise here? Just want to give you a chance. Uh, how do you say your name? Roloff?
Roelof.
Ruloff.
Yes.
Say it
Uh,
again for me.
Roelof.
Ruloff. Okay. Thank
That's
you.
a Dutch name.
Uh-huh.
Um, I know a few people. I want to explore issues lovingly and supportively, and at the same time, I know that I am sitting on a pile of anger,
Hmm.
gen general anger, and that I'm also. That's why I'm afraid that as soon as I start exploring things and
Mhm.
it doesn't go smoothly, then kind of anger will surge up, and then I will say things which mean you are a worthless piece of shit and this
Right.
this kind of level. And yeah,
Okay, let's
that's
talk about that. That's extremely common. It was one of the reasons for not doing it that I mentioned, or at least the fear stories that
yeah,
I'll blow it up with my anger. Um, so the first thing, and I'll say a generic thing, and then if you're willing, I'll guide you a little bit into exploring your own anger in one of these instances, because we have to talk about one instance, not all of them, although they probably have similarities. So the main thing when you're approaching a difficult conversation and you have a backlog of anger, it's important to get a little bit beneath your anger and see all of the parts to that anger and the different layers of it and bring yourself into a more tender place with what your anger's about. So doing an inquiry on your own anger is always my go-to before you have the conversation.
yeah.
So, because then you kind of know in a more deep way what the vulnerabilities are underneath your anger. So, are you willing to explore this with me, Roloff?
Yes.
I'll just, it won't be hard. I'll just ask you some questions, and if nothing's coming, nothing's coming. But you tell me, are you willing to go into this a bit?
Yes.
Do you have, first of all, think of one of those persons that uh like did something that you're angry about or has always done something that you're angry about, or maybe it's not a did, maybe it's something about them. So just think of that and then tell me something about an actual situation that kind of gives us a feel for what you might be angry about. Like what did they do or how are they that you don't like?
Yeah, I met a woman through a dating agency.
Yeah.
Uh, Very interesting woman, a therapist and leader of spiritual retreats.
Mhm.
And when I meet her, I think it's very difficult to relate to her. One time she is open and warm. Other times she shies away and makes herself available. Apps in the morning. I feel awful
Mhm.
uh, in a painful situation. I respond and offer uh, say that I'm available for a talk or a phone call or whatever, then she keeps herself unavailable for 24 hours. Next time she's warm and interested, and then she closes off.
Mm.
And yeah, that is for me seems a bit chaotic. I don't like that. I'm
Yeah,
angry.
yeah. So let's feel into what that's like for you. Sometimes she's open, sometimes she moves away from you, just kind of tuning into the feeling that goes along with that fact of life that's been happening or that did happen. Just the feeling of that. You know, chaotic was, you don't have to use perfect words. Chaotic is a good word. Anything else? What comes, what does it feel like in your body, for example?
Right now in this talk with you is
Yeah.
that I said I feel lonely in that way that
Mhm.
I can't reach the person and I want to reach the person.
Ah,
In my mind, she is must be very interesting, and I met her
yeah.
times or so, and then it was interesting. But at the same time, she's kind of playing
Yeah.
with me.
Feels like that to you. So that feeling inside then is, I'm getting it. You don't have to say more about it, but let's go into that feeling. It's a body sensation and there's emotions around this. So I'm just going to guide you in what we call an inquiry. We're just like be with something that's here and now in your body and mind and
I feel as if
breathe,
big
breathe with it and see what else comes up.
Dame said, uh, possibility of a wonderful contact,
Hmm.
but it doesn't work.
Hmm.
But when I see, uh, when I meet her, then she is open and she is supportive and she has admirers, people who have worked with her for 18 years in groups and everything. And then I can't stand, how is it possible that you are not uh, able to discuss these things and that you're hiding yourself? Well,
Yeah, you're so competent, at communication and connecting, but
it's
how
not.
come you're not that way so much with me?
Yes, yes.
Something like that. So these thoughts and feelings now, I'm going to call this a tender part of you, lonely, wanting to connect and not finding that reliably, an inconsistency and seeing how she, or at least hearing how she is with others and how come, so there's like, how come this is happening? It's this like
I'm
that
not a
partly.
communicator myself, so but I feel unskilled dealing with her.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel powerless. She has an income 10 times mine, and
Uh-huh.
I'm
So if you, let's,
money.
you
That's
know,
an,
so maybe this is a little bit reminiscent of things that happened a long time ago with you. Uh, we can take a moment with that, but we can still talk about a conversation with her before we're done here. But
Mhm.
I'd like to give you a chance to go. Is there any familiar echoes from things that were either chaotic, inconsistent, lonely? How come, I'm not being able to connect with what I want? Any of that theme earlier in your life that's kind of carried through?
Yeah, that's a longer time ago at home. I've had a series of relationships. I'm a recent widower now, but
Mm-hmm.
I had uh, these kind of relationships some 20 years ago with a woman, and
Mm-hmm.
as it at home, it was also kind of once warm, once hostile, once warm, was hostile as
Mm.
my
Uh,
father.
uh-huh. So you've experienced this before.
I have, yes.
Yeah. So I want us to just feel some tenderness for the pain that's in you about that. There,
Yeah.
in it, this current situation is reminiscent of that. So just
Okay. And the
breathe.
hostility,
Mhm.
anger,
And you have anger about that too.
yes.
So I'm going to say that your anger is trying to protect you from that feeling. Do you kind of buy into that? Like anger is like no, it's like a no. You can't treat me that way, and you're not like really wanting the pain that's underneath that. But there's pain.
Uh,
There's pain underneath your anger.
and I am able to do some introspection. At the same time, I expect myself to be above that and uh, explore this skillfully, I,
Mhm.
but I'm not
Mhm.
really awful and open and pleasant and thing.
Yeah. So, you
My
know,
fear is I start talking to her, exploring this,
mhm.
then I will come across as very much too hard, too
Uh-huh.
hostile, might explode.
Yeah, yeah. So I think in order for you to soften up around this, we need to have you feeling more soft toward yourself, toward, I'm almost going to say, the way you're being treated. You know what I mean? We can feel sorrow for you. But you like to
Mm,
rise above feeling sorrow because it's sort of like, well, feeling sorry for myself, is kind of not
Weak.
not too cool. But sorrow for yourself is the idea that I'm trying to promote. There's no real pain that has
Yeah,
been done to you.
yes, yes, yes. But now uh, I'm getting a bit teary, or maybe
Hmm.
not fully, but there are tears behind my eyes.
Yeah. So keep being with that for a little bit. Let's see if we can allow that and honor that that there is emotional pain. We all have it at times.
Yeah,
And this is just I like to call it a tender part of you that deserves love and deserves our attention, like
yeah.
a much loved child.
Mm.
Yeah. There's hurting. I'm hurting kind of thing.
Yeah, I really am hurting. I'm in contact with that sadness and
Yeah.
hurt, feeling hurt,
Yeah.
feeling not understood, not met in my needs, and denied in my needs. And
Yeah. Yeah. And that, anger's right on the edge of that to come in and want to protect you. We can kind of sense that, right? But there's softness right now too.
anger to avoid the pain and the sadness and
Yes. Yeah. And
feel impossible to solve the situation as a child. I solved it by leaving home at age 17 and
uh-huh. So
opening door.
something like this happened to you as a child, and you
Yeah,
just got out of there to protect yourself.
yeah,
So these childhood situations have a huge imprint on our adult relationships, as you know. And
yeah.
I want to not make that a bad thing. That's like an absolutely normal thing.
Mhm,
And as long as that pain, that old pain is there, from before you were 17, and it's not that it ever completely dissolves, but the important thing to help us in our adult life is to move some of that energy and feel some of those feelings that you stiffened up around when you were a kid because you
mhm,
didn't get to feel your feelings. We would stiffen up and like shut down on some of those intense feelings, including anger, in many cases, but even more the soft feelings because they were too intense for a child. And so
Yeah.
now we get to have a situation in our adult life where we're big and we have a stronger nervous system and we have much more real emotional independence than we did from our parents. So we
Yeah.
can afford to feel some of that deeper pain now that we're big. Sometimes we wait to, I mean, we have to do this work all our lives, or sometimes we wait to start it until we're 60, 70, even 80 years old, but there's no too late for it. It's just like
Mm.
let the tears, let the feelings be felt, and that unblocks some of that energy that got stuck around this is the way the world is. Um,
Yeah.
and you know, just just letting yourself have those feelings can be a start. So I like what I'm seeing here.
Mhm. Yes, no, that's a very good suggestion. Spend time with that first, and then uh, start exploring what's happening between me and that friend of mine.
That's that's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And so as we'll just get ready to close with you now, and let's just be with that for as long as you can today after this call, just hanging out with those tender feelings. And always supporting the
Mhm.
intensity with breath. So thank you so much,
Thank
Rulov.
you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Um,
and thanks to everyone. We're out of time here. Um, and I want to just uh, mention again, as I did in the very beginning, that so often when we start to think about one of these tough conversations that we want to have, we realize that there are some old trigger wounds that need to be investigated to help us bring more of our whole self to the conversation. So I think you got the idea from what you saw here today. And thanks so much for your good attention to the three people who opened themselves up for our learning. And thank you so much, Scott, Denise, and Rulov. Okay. Yeah, and we got some hearts there for those who shared. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Susan.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Susan. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. It's great to have friends come on these calls. Bye-bye.